Morning everyone, welcome to another episode of MC Commute. You know the deal. Today we're going to be riding to the Motorcyclist Magazine office in Southern California on Royal Enfield's new Continental GT. So let's strap on the helmet and go for a ride. Here we go, guys. Royal Enfield's new 2019 Continental GT. This is a classic cafe racer inspired street bike. Something you can ride to work, ride in the canyons, ride for coffee, just do anything on, really. And it's a motorcycle that has some significant history to it. Royal Enfield's originally an English marquee, but the Indians purchased it many decades ago. It's gone up and down over the decades and years, and now they've finally put life back into the brand. And they have something pretty neat and special with this new Continental GT 650. You got to remember, this motorcycle it was reintroduced in 2014 as a new model, and now it's reintroduced again in 2019 as an all-new model with a bigger engine, new styling, a couple of significant upgrades, all for the same price. $6,000 is what this bike costs. Pretty good value when you look at it. But let's see what it's like to ride. What do you guys think it sounds like? It's a little bit cold-blooded. Just notch it into first gear and ride. Alright, the 2019 Royal Enfield Continental GT. This is a big upgrade from its predecessor, the 2014 model. Not only do you get more cylinders, you get more displacement, you get higher build quality, and a motorcycle that's just more adept at everyday riding. Detour is open so we can ride again on our typical MC Commute route. And the first thing I notice on this bike compared to its predecessor is how much smoother it is when you're riding it. The clutch is real precise. Throttle is well calibrated too. And this is a real feeling motorcycle. The brakes, everything, just my initial impressions are it's a much better motorcycle than the 2014 Continental GT. Happy this motorcycle is so slim it makes splitting lanes pretty easy. Well, thanks. That guy's very nice. Thank you. Ergonomics on this bike aren't too aggressive. I mean, it is a cafe racer inspired motorcycle in terms of its styling and riding position, but it's not overdone. It's not too aggressive. Seating position seems to be okay. It's definitely has a low seat height. I'm 6 foot tall and I have both of my feet firmly planted on the asphalt. The seating position itself is pretty slim and the seat feels pretty hard. I don't know if this would maybe be a choice for, 120 mile day of riding, but for riding 20 miles to work or 18 miles or whatever it is, I think we'll be okay. She's got some get up and go. The 648cc parallel twin delivers much more power than that old 535cc single. Way more power. On the dyno, it actually produced double the power. 44 horsepower versus 22 horsepower. So big performance upgrade with the 648cc parallel twin. This engine's air oil cooled. It's got a 4-valve, or actually an 8-valve head, 4 valves for each cylinder. Whoa, what's this person doing? And the engine was actually designed out of Royal Enfield's new design center in England. So they have a design center in England where they do all their engine development. It's also where their chassis design company is located. They actually bought Harris Performance. Harris Performance was an old custom sport bike chassis designer from back in the day, and their claim to fame was making custom sport bike and sporty chassis. Royal Enfield actually acquired them, and this chassis in this bike has a chassis designed by those guys. And right off the bat, it feels really good. Even the 2014 Continental GT, even though it had a bazillion hiccups, the one thing it had a pretty good setup on was the chassis and the handling. Yeah, the ground clearance wasn't the best, especially on the left side, but it certainly wasn't bad. So the design center in England is where all the modeling and mocking up of these motorcycles happens. But when it comes to production, they actually assemble these machines out of Chennai, India. Hope I'm pronouncing it right. Chennai, India. It's a city on the eastern coast of India. And that's where these motorcycles come from. Get that ear fixed a little bit. There we go. It's crazy to think. I think last year in 2018, if you can even believe this sounds just absurd to me, but Royal Enfield stamped out 850,000 motorcycles out of their factory. 850,000 motorcycles. You're probably wondering, where are all those motorcycles? I don't see those motorcycles on the road. Well, it's because the country of India is the biggest consumer of these Royal Enfield bikes, because they just love them. The price is right. It's built in India. They look cool. But Royal Enfield has its sight set on something more than just being the all-conquering place in India. They want to be here in America too. Wow, this bike took that corner pretty nicely. So Royal Enfield has set up a new subsidiary here in America. They're now operating out of Milwaukee. They're reintroducing their dealer network, and they want to make a splash here in the Americas. This bike's got some serious get up and go. Jumps off the line really well. Engine doesn't vibrate too much either. It's actually pretty smooth. There is a little bit of vibration, but it's not overwhelming. I mean, I remember the old single cylinder Continental GT, that thing would vibrate your teeth out of your mouth. Not this thing. This thing's way smoother. Right now we're riding in 6th gear. 6th gear. So the old bike had 5 gears, now this thing has 6. So far so good. Transmission cuts between each of its gears well. Doesn't have an excessive amount of throw at the shift lever. Good passing power to pass slower guys in front of you. I like the instruments. They also look like they've been upgraded from before. The older instruments were pretty crappy. These things not only look good, but they actually work. The needle's not fluttering everywhere in total disrepair. There's a nice LCD bar graph style fuel gauge here on the bottom left right there. Odometer, trip features, accessed by this middle button. Yeah, throttle response is real good. I like that. She was just a little bit cold-blooded this morning, but she's warmed up quite nice. I actually feel the engine heat off the side of the engine cases on my calves.
on my calf muscles. It actually feels kind of good. It's like calf muscle heaters. With the 3.3 gallon fuel tank filled up, this thing weighs in at about 435 pounds. So it's a little bit heavier than the old version. Not a lot, but a little bit heavier. But honestly, you don't really feel that weight. I mean, you feel it maybe a little bit. I mean, after all, the old bike was a single cylinder and weighed in at 405 pounds, I think. So definitely a little bit bigger, but I wouldn't say it compromises the ride at all. If anything, I think it actually helps it. It makes this bike feel more substantial and real. We're rolling on 18-inch spoked wheels, and the handling on this thing is not the sharpest. This thing is a little bit sluggish when you go from left to right gear. Again, not bad, but not the sharpest handling machine that I've ridden recently. Yet I still feel like the chassis is very stable and it's very solid. So a little sluggish handling, but solid still. Yeah, this guy whole shot it, thank God. Good job, Jaguar, dude. Yeah, this motorcycle zips along very nicely. The engine sound, there's some character there. It's a little bit more muted than I would like compared to some of the other parallel twin powered bikes in the segment, but I wouldn't say it's bad by any means. It's just a little bit muted, but it's got some growl there. There's a little bit of grunt. I really like this clutch. It's weighted very nicely. It's not too wimpy, but not too much tension on the lever either. Weighted very nicely. You can tell, like, when you start pulling it out, it engages pretty quickly, which I like. Oops, as I stall it. Sorry about that, guys. One of the neatest things about this bike is just the price. $6,000. Can you believe that? $6,000 brand new for this motorcycle. Not only is the price right, but it comes with a 3-year warranty. 3 years. So, Indian brand's really standing behind its product. 3-year warranty with roadside service. So, if you break down on the side of the road, they'll come get you. How cool is that? I mean, it's a $6,000 bike, so you're gonna have a little bit of orange peel on the triple clamp, like we have right here. And if you look at some of the fasteners, they're not as high quality as, say, a Japanese bike, or most Japanese bikes, or the recently MC Commute reviewed W800. This thing does not have that kind of quality, but at the same time costs $3,000 less. A lot of money, and it essentially does the same thing. So it's up to you. You decide. Great, finally another turn. Oh, but the turn has a stop sign at the end of it. We almost had a moment of fun, guys. Fortunately, we can have some fun splitting this traffic and going to the front of the line. It's one of the real appealing features of a motorcycle here. Here we go, guys. Ooh, rev limiter comes in kind of quick. But when you give her the beans, she definitely goes. Alright, we're on the freeway, cruising at 70 miles per hour. 69 miles per hour to be exact, guys. 69. Top gear, we're pulling 4,000 revs. A little bit of vibration from the controls, but not bad. I like the handlebar again. It's got a relatively more upright positioning for a cafe racer Conversely, though, the bend of the rear sets is pretty aggressive. My feet and legs are tucked in a fairly racy style. It almost doesn't quite match the position of the handlebar. The handlebar is a little bit more relaxed, while the foot controls are a little bit more aggressive. So kind of a little bit of a strange contortion. Wouldn't have been bad to see a little bit more relaxed foot control positioning to follow the manner of the handlebar, or a little bit more aggressive handlebar positioning to follow the order of the foot controls. Either one. Got a good amount of traffic this morning, guys, so we can't really rip. There's another one of my favorite turns, and we're not going to be able to hit it at blitzkrieg pace, unfortunately. Going over some of these little bumps here. The suspension actually works pretty good. We got a 41mm diameter fork up front and a pair of shocks at the back. There's 4.5 inches of travel at the fork and 3.3 on the shocks. We went over those bumps back there, and it actually handled them pretty well. It absorbed them nicely. It filtered them out well. Didn't deliver a abnormally rough ride at all. Alright guys, we're gonna do some passing. Do some more passing, guys. And an open turn, here we go. Love open turns. Pirelli tires on this bike, and they grip well. I really like this motorcycle for $6,000. A significant and welcome update from the 2014 Continental GT. This bike is way better than that thing. Way better. It's not even a comparison. This is a real motorcycle that not only looks cool, but rides good now too, and has good calibration between all of the controls. Got BRE brakes by Brembo, a company that's based in India that stamps out Brembo-like products. So it's not actually Brembo, but it's almost a subsidiary of them. So they stamp out Brembo-like braking components. Got a nice stainless steel brake line on the front master cylinder that connects it to the caliper. Caliper is not radial mount, it's conventional axial mount. Not a big deal because these brakes actually work really good. Good power. The bite's a little bit soft, but there is power. You just gotta use 2 fingers and lean on the lever. There's no brake lever adjustment, no clutch lever position adjustment. I like to see that, but again, for $6,000, it's absolutely fine that it doesn't have it. One of the things I would have liked to have seen on this bike is an LED headlight. So it's got that old style 1980s, just old looking halogen bulb headlight. And I think if they would have put some LED lighting on this bike, that really would have turned some heads. You gotta remember, LED lighting, even though it's kind of new in the motorcycle and automotive scene, it doesn't cost much to do anymore. The Honda Grom costs $3,000 and has LED headlighting. And if that thing has LED lights, this thing should too. But overall, pleasantly surprised with the 2019 Royal Enfield Continental GT. They've done a pretty good job with this bike. Alright guys, we're on the home stretch to the Motorcyclist magazine office. Ooh, I hit that bump and that didn't feel so good. Alright, the wheelie test. What do you guys think? I'm gonna say no, but we'll give her hell regardless, because that's what we do. But jeez. Oh my god, do you see how little that wheelie is? Little wheelies, guys, that's all it does. Little baby wheelies. Is she gonna back it in? What is this guy doing? Nope, no backing it in, guys. We got ABS. That guy balked us, but we wouldn't have been able to do it anyways because we have ABS. So this thing gets a D on the wheelie test and the F on the back it in test. But at least it can do little baby wheelies. Better than nothing. Alright guys, my favorite part of this whole ride, I get to answer your questions via Instagram. Make sure to log on to Motorcyclist Online on Instagram and leave us comments and talk to us. We love hearing from you guys. Let's pull out the old internet talking iPhone machine and answer some questions real quick about the Continental GT. We gotta do it quick though because I don't want to be late for work. I've been written up twice this week. They can't be written up anymore. Alright guys, here we go. Let's answer some questions. Start at the top. JAISONABREU asks, have they improved on overall reliability? What are the real world fuel efficiency figures? I would say they have improved the quality of this bike. I mean, you can tell just evident by riding it. It feels much more like a complete motorcycle, where the old one felt like a box of bolts. So this thing is much more high quality. I mean, look at the shock and look at these parts, look at the engine. It is definitely built better. And for $6,000, I think they're doing just fine. Rowdy Skins asks, nice name by the way, is it exciting enough to be attractive to seasoned riders? Is the fit and finish compromised at the price point? I would say it's a little bit exciting. I definitely had some thrill riding here. It gets up and goes pretty nicely, and it handles well. I wouldn't say it's the fastest thing on the road or the most high performance. I mean, not even close. And for that $6,000 price, you're going to be able to find a bike that's going to deliver a little bit more pop, snap, and edge. But still, you know, for the price, for the category, and for where Royal Enfields come from with the predecessor Continental GT, this bike's really good. Nice bike, good price point. Kudos to Royal Enfield. Marv Wilson asks, how do you rate the brakes and suspension? Brakes and suspension seem fine. The brakes, again, are a little bit, they don't have a lot of feel or bite. You kind of just have to pull on the lever. When you pull on the lever, the bike stops really well. So a little bit more feel wouldn't be a bad thing. You could probably do that just by switching brake pads. But I would give the brakes probably a C+. C+ on the brakes. It's okay. Suspension. Hey, it went over those big bumps on the freeway real well. And we didn't really have a chance to really go through any corners at a good clip, so I can't really tell you how the damping settings are. But initial impressions, I would say probably like B- B on the suspension, so it's just fine. PETRINDODONA asks, does it feel heavy? It doesn't feel heavy when you're sitting on it or you're in a standstill or you're going straight, but when you're turning it, handling left to right, right to left, it feels a little bit sluggish. And I think that sluggishness comes just from the steering geometry. And it's not bad. It's not like it's just like a big whale of a bike. It just turns a little bit sluggishly. But when you're sitting on it and when you're riding around town, it does not feel heavy. It actually feels pretty small. That seating position is really slim. It feels like a real compact bike in terms of its width. Yet its length is appropriately proportioned. And it feels like a real motorcycle. I think they did a pretty good job. Alright, let's ask one more. Isn't it a bit underpowered for a 650 twin astronaut on the road? I don't know, I wouldn't say so. 44 horsepower at the back tire, I think that's got some good get up and go. I'd say it's doing pretty good. Alright guys, that's a wrap from the 2019 Royal Enfield Continental GT MC Commute review. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Motorcyclist Mag on YouTube. Hop on to motorcyclistonline.com where we have a review of this motorcycle. Just search Royal Enfield Continental GT 2019. There'll be a review up on this motorcycle. Also, hop on the Cycle World. They'll have one too, I believe. And that's a wrap, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. I gotta go to work.